We observe a dark patch that is formed behind us when we stand outside during the daytime. So it is formed on the side opposite to the source of light. That dark patch we call them as shadow. So what is shadow? A shadow is formed when the rays of light are obstructed by an opaque or translucent object. So we studied about opaque and translucent object in the last class. What is translucent object? Those objects which allows only a part of light to pass through it. Such objects we call them as translucent object. We are able to see object on the other side of a translucent object partially. That means it allows only a part of light to pass through it. Then what is opaque object? It does not allow any light to pass through it. Such objects we call them as opaque object. We are unable to see objects on the other side through opaque object. So when these objects are obstructed by the light, we see a shadow on the opposite side. So shadow is formed when the rays of light are obstructed by an opaque or translucent object. ഒപ്പേക്കോ ട്രാൻസ്ലൂസൻറ്റ് ഒബ്ജക്റ്റിനെയോ ലൈറ്റ് ഒബ്സ്ട്രക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ തടഞ്ഞു നിർത്തുമ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ഓപ്പോസിറ്റ് സൈഡിൽ വീഴുന്ന ഡാർക്ക് പാച്ചിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത് ഷാഡോ. സോ ഷാഡോ ആർ ഫോംഡ് when the rays of light are obstructed by an opaque or translucent object. So an opaque object casts a dark shadow while a translucent object casts a faint shadow. Why it is so? We know that opaque object does not allow any light to pass through it, but translucent object allows only a part of light. That means partially it is passing, so that the shadow formed will be darker in the case of an opaque object, and it will be faint in the case of a translucent object. So let us discuss what are the requirements needed for to observe a shadow. A source of light is needed for to observe a shadow. We know that shadow is formed when the rays of light is obstructed, when the rays of light is falls on an opaque or translucent object. So when it is not passing, it is obstructed, തടഞ്ഞു നിർത്തുമ്പോഴാണ് അതിൻ്റെ ഓപ്പോസിറ്റ് സൈഡിൽ അതിൻ്റെ പ്രതിബിംബം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഷാഡോ പതിക്കുന്നത്. സോ എ സോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് ലൈറ്റ് ഈസ് റിക്വയർഡ് ടു ഒബ്സർവ് എ ഷാഡോ. Second thing is the object must be an opaque or translucent object. Mostly opaque object shows a brighter shadow and a translucent object casts a faint shadow. So it needs an opaque or translucent object for to observe a shadow. Third things we have to require is a screen on which the shadow can be seen. So a screen means there is a surface behind the object. Where the object lies, just opposite to that a surface must be there. എവിടെയാണോ ഒരു ഒബ്ജക്റ്റ് നിൽക്കുന്നത് അതിൻ്റെ ഓപ്പോസിറ്റ് സൈഡിൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിൻ്റെ മറുഭാഗത്ത് ഒരു സ്ക്രീൻ കണക്ക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സർഫസ് വേണം ആ ഷാഡോ പതിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി. ആ സ്ക്രീൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സർഫസ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ ഷാഡോയെ നമുക്ക് കാണുവാൻ സാധിക്കത്തുള്ളൂ. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഷാഡോ വീഴുന്നത് നമുക്ക് ഒബ്സർവ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കില്ല. അപ്പോൾ എപ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് ഒരു സ്ക്രീൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സർഫസ് ഈസ് റിക്വയർഡ് ടു ഷോ ഓർ required for to observe a shadow. So there are three things to observe a shadow. We require three things. Which are the three things? There must be a source of light. Second, it must be an opaque or translucent object. And third one is we need a surface or screen behind the object. We need a surface or screen behind the object. Then only we can observe a shadow. So a shadow are formed because light rays traverse in a straight line and they cannot bend around the corners of the object. The shape of the shadow is also the same as the shape of the object because light travels in a straight line. So if we keep anything on the table and when we pass a light on it, if it is an opaque object, we can see the same cast or same shadow of the object observed on the other side. That means the object will be on the object shadow will be seen on the opposite side. So we can observe the same shape of the shadow or same shape of the object as shadow on the opposite side. So we require three things: a source of light, then the object must be opaque or translucent, then only the light can obstruct or light can block there, and we need a screen or a surface behind the object to fall the shadow.